Okay, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining this year's Paase Tech Webinar 2021. And what that means is that this is just one of many tech webinars that we will be doing in Paase. Paase stands for the Philippine Academy of Science and Engineering. And to start our webinar, may I call on the president of Paase, Dr. Giselle Concepcion, for a few welcome remarks. Ma'am Giselle?
Thanks, CP. Giselle here from UP. I'd like to welcome our participants, our guests, and especially our next gen, young gen, techie speakers today who are in companies doing work that affects all of us in a very special way. So how can any of us live without Netflix, Amazon, Google, Grab, and Gcash? So thanks so much, Aaron, Paulo, Grace, Karen, and Christina. Did I miss anyone? No, I think I mentioned the 5 speakers. And we'd also like to thank our co-hosts. And they're in the poster, Stanford Club, and then Puma Podcast, and the 2 others, CP. Anyway, PASA is an organization of about 380 PhD level scientists and engineers based in the Philippines, in the United States, and elsewhere in the world. And we just celebrated our 40th year with a month-long online conference last year. And we have the broad range of the sciences and engineering. And among our major advocacies or mandates is outreach to Philippine regions, agham at kaalaman para sa bayan, but focused on STEM education at all levels, and also linking academe with industry for S&T R&D entrepreneurship. Better way to showcase the value of science and technology than featuring people like our speakers today. And together with this tech webinar, thank you so much, CP, for organizing it and also being the committee chair of our fundraising committee. So we'd like to thank those who donated to the PASE for our STEM education advocacy in connection with this tech webinar. Thank you so much, everyone. And we look forward to a great, great webinar today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Giselle. Before we go on to our co-sponsors, obviously we wouldn't have been able to do it within PAASE to organize this webinar. We have several partner organizations who help not only in terms of inviting people, but also in terms of fundraising, as you mentioned. But before we go on to our next speaker, I'd like to welcome first a few notable personalities in our audience. We have a big group of in the audience coming from Bicol University. So thanks for joining our webinar this morning. Of course, our members in PAASE, including Mario Santo Domingo and Ino Lansigan, they're all here. Thanks for joining. We are also joined by leaders in the business sector as well. Special mention to Mr. Zobel. Thank you, sir, for joining us this morning. And as well as some of my friends in the industry from Mizu, as well as our colleagues in UP. Okay, moving on. We couldn't have done this webinar without the help of StratBase Albert Del Rosario Institute. And to give his welcome remarks, here's Professor Dindo Manhit. Dindo?
Hi, thank you, CP. Good morning to speakers. Good morning to all participants and to organizers, PAASE. When CP asked us if you're interested to support, of course, we're very happy to be part of any discussion about new technologies, especially after what we have seen last year in 2020. We've seen risks rising since the start of the pandemic. And part of the risk that we saw is really this continuing digital divide or the lack of access to digital services. And to address this so-called accelerated technological change and adoption as very critical part of economic recovery. And it's something that we decided last year as an institute to continue to advocate. And in one of my first commentary this year, in the business world, formerly, we have the former editor-in-chief, probably here, I spoke of digitization as a requisite to an acceptable pace of economic recovery. And something that we saw last year, and we are waiting for government data this week, we have seen how the economy has contracted. If you look at the GDP of the different quarters of last year, it really is challenging as we face 2021. And we hope that as we try to face and address the challenges brought about by this contraction, we can see an opportunity with the use of digital technology. But reality brings us to certain data, and the recent IMD data, it still reflects this overall ranking of the Philippines with regard to digital competitiveness as of 2020 is 57 out of 63 countries. But what we saw positive about it is that as you go deep into the analysis of this study, that same IMD report revealed that the Philippines ranked 10th highest for investment in telecommunications if led by the private sector. And in Strat-based ADRi Institute, we continue to champion this issue of investments, partnership with the public and the private sector. And in one of our regular statements, we issued just last week a statement whereby the impact of this huge investment on the part of the private telcos can potentially be quadrupled if government steps into with synergized digital infrastructure projects funded by development loans, which is a strategy that our ASEAN neighbors are aggressively implementing. Another data that I wanted to share that took note of is that when you look at UCLA, December 2020 report, the Philippines continues to improve its overall internet speed. And that is due to private sector involvement. And with that, of course, it will open us up to more opportunities for the use of internet. And when we had this briefing coming from our partner research institution, Pulse Asia, it revealed a list of purposes of using the internet. That technology is playing an increasingly important role in the daily lives of Filipinos. What these companies innovate next will shape what life can look like tomorrow. The only sad part is that I think a recent Pulse Asia survey revealed that overall internet usage in the Philippines, though it increased during the pandemic, the internet usage is still limited to, and I think 1/3 of Filipinos are still not online. So hopefully this kind of discussion generates enough interest, how technology, how the shift to digitization can really shape our economic recovery. We're proud to be part of this webinar. Thank you, CP, for inviting us to be part of this.
Thank you, Dindo, and thanks for providing a backdrop, an economic backdrop to our webinar this morning. Certainly, some of the, well, most of our, or probably all our speakers and their respective companies actually have seen an increase in engagement, no, during the lockdowns and the pandemic that started last year. Okay, moving on. I'd like to welcome Alaris Lacanlale, who is the president of the Stanford Club of the Philippines. The Stanford Club has helped us organize this webinar as well and provided significant donations, no, for the PAASE fundraising activity. Alaris, good morning.
Great morning, everyone. Thank you, CP. It's an absolute honor for us to co-sponsor this event with PAASE. And thank you very much to the speakers for generously sharing your time. I know our alumni members are really eager to hear your insights, and we're just happy to participate and support a cause that is very dear to our hearts, STEM education. Imagining Silicon Valley without Stanford and vice versa is pretty much unthinkable. So though many of us alumni, including myself, we're not techies or scientists, but there is no denying that symbiotic relationship between Stanford University and the most successful tech companies, including most of the ones present at our talk today. So just want to keep it short, but thank you again to the speakers and especially our alumni, Anne, Paul, and Karen. We're incredibly proud of you. And with that, I'll hand it over to CP. Thank you.
Thanks, Alaris. Our media partner for this event is Puma Podcast, the first and most successful podcast channel in the country, producing several shows, including hopefully within this coming year or this current year, a podcast on science and technology. And here to give a few welcome remarks is the president, CEO of Puma Podcast, Robbie Alampay. Robbie?
Hi. Magandang umaga. Maraming salamat, CP. I'd like to thank PAASE for, giving us a little bit of room for, opening the door for us to take part. It's an honor for us. As Dindo said, I used to be editor-in-chief of Business World. I used to be vice president at TV5, particularly for its online and new media content for news. I left all of that to set up my own startup in podcasting. And one of the reasons we did that was, we're noticing, we know that wall-to-wall news is there, breaking news is there, but we've always felt that on top of everybody trying to be opinion leaders and everybody trying to be thought leaders, and all the toxicity for that matter as well, and the cacophony that you see on social media, there was really a need to emphasize the not just the habit and not just the practice, but the value of listening. And I've always been a podcast fan, and I've always felt that was something that even before the term podcast was born, I was always a radio feature guy, and I've always felt that was the value of it. And so the vision of Puma Podcast, as we always say, is a world that listens. Our mission, as we say, is to share the power, the value, and the joy there is in listening. And it's not a platform, as you know, I think it's safe to say that there are podcast listeners in this particular audience. The audience here is not a mass market. It's not tens of thousands of listeners. It's not hundreds of thousands of listeners. But these are people very passionate about certain things. I don't have any data to share with you. We look forward to hearing your knowledge and your data, but I will share just one piece of data that we always trot out. Everybody says, podcasting, ilan ba nagpa-podcast sa Pilipinas? Ilan ba marunong mag-podcast sa Pilipinas? And we always say that's the wrong way of framing it. The real question is how many people know how to consume audio on Spotify or YouTube or even Facebook and so on, and all the podcasting platforms? And the answer is actually 100%. And 100% of Filipinos on the internet know how to consume audio, if even to consume it, if even to consume audio via video, but they know how to access it. The only important thing we want to stress here is that, therefore, non-music audio consumption is not a new behavior. It is just new content. And in that new content, we've always felt that podcasting and the culture built around these communities really come together for things like this, for communities, for passionate communities. There's a podcast out there that I'm sure you already all know, Ologies. And that's always been a peg for us. And we've always wanted to reach out to the STEM community of the Philippines in particular, the STEM community of Filipinos. And this is why we are in touch with CP. And this is why we are very much honored to be here. We hope that this opens the door to build a relationship, because there is nothing we would love to do more than to join you in this mission to promote STEM and STEM education and STEM enrollment and STEM interest in the Philippines and among our young Filipinos. This is one community that we would hope we can contribute to and encourage more people to listen. So again, maraming salamat, and we'll get out of your way, and we look forward to your sharing.
Thank you, Robbie. Okay, without much further ado, we'll go on with our webinar, starting with our first speaker, Anne Aaron. Anne is the Director of Encoding Technologies at Netflix. Simply put, you are able to stream your favorite Netflix movies and documentaries on your phone or in any mobile device because of the technology that Anne and her team has built, not in Netflix. This is actually part of her dissertation, no, in Stanford. So very, very early on, parang Anne and Netflix are meant to be together. She leads the team that builds and innovates on media encoding and processing. The work of the team enables the best picture and sound quality while watching Netflix and empowers the Netflix studio. Anne has a BS degree in computer engineering and physics from Ateneo and a master's and a PhD in electrical engineering from Stanford. You might want to know what Anne is watching in Netflix. This includes The Crown, Kim's Convenience, Alice in Borderland, Midnight Diner, and of course, Crash Landing on You. Without much further ado, please welcome Anne Aaron.
Maraming salamat, CP. Magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. I'm Anne Aaron. As CP said, I'm Director of Encoding Technologies at Netflix, and isa niyo pong kababayan. I was born in Manila, grew up in Makati. I went to, just a bit background on myself, I went to grade school in Cisco in Manila. I went to Philippine Science High School, or PSI, in Diliman, and I went to Ateneo for college. After college, I wanted to learn more about in engineering and ended up in Stanford University. And that's where I stayed for the last 20 years, and I'm still a few miles away from Stanford right now. It was at Stanford where I met Dr. Professor David. So last night, preparing for this talk, I thought I should try to find some embarrassing photos of us, but unfortunately, most of the embarrassing photos I found were of myself and less of him. So, but I'm going to share that anyway. So this is us 20 years ago at Stanford, especially since it's co-hosted by the Filipinos at Stanford. So this is a picture of the Filipinos, and this is us with a bunch of friends from all over the world on our first ski trip. At Stanford, as CP said, I did my master's and PhD in electrical engineering with a focus on video encoding. And I very much still use whatever I did for my PhD, and it's very much relevant to what I do at Netflix today. So I know that all that early STEM education I did at Cisco, PSI, and Ateneo really sparked my interest in engineering and brought me to Stanford. And so whenever you start pressing play when you watch Netflix today, just think about that, how that early step education actually channels to your Netflix viewing today. I still have a lot of family in the Philippines. That's my family when they visited 2 years ago. And my other important job is I am a mom to these two very cute but very makulit boys, two sons. And they might come in later when they're bored. I'm also a member of the Kababayans at Netflix. This photo here on the right is from an event that we organized at Netflix 2 years ago, and I think that was one of the more fulfilling events that I've personally organized, where we had the Filipino tech community of Silicon Valley come together, network, talk about our work, and also eat pancit and lumpia. So enough of the photos. So we're going to go now to the tech part. So as I said, I'm Director of Encoding Technologies. And what that means is I lead a team of software engineers and research scientists. And we're responsible for all the software and research that generates the media that you see in our service. So that's the video files, the audio files, the captions, and even the images or the trailers that power the Netflix service. For the last few years, Netflix has also been producing our own shows. So we're a studio, and the technologies that we build also help power the studio part, because as you know, making movies or shows need a lot of media assets. So for the rest of the talk, I'm just going to give an overview of the different areas of innovation that we do at Netflix, including the one that I'm heavily involved in. So the very first one is, at Netflix, we strive to deliver a seamless viewing experience to our members. And why is this important? Well, when you press play and watching The Crown and you're in a very dramatic part of the show, you don't want to see this. So this is a rebuffer. Or when you're watching Stranger Things and you see Eleven, you don't want to see her look like this, and where she almost looks like a monster. So how do we achieve the seamless experience? And this is the building blocks of of Netflix streaming. First, we start after a movie or a show has been produced, we get a final master of the show or film. Then we take that into encoding, the system that generates multiple versions of the files so that we can support all certified Netflix devices with different bandwidth or network conditions. These files are then sent out and stored in multiple copies throughout the world. Lastly, we have a streaming engine that's running on TVs, laptops, and phones that play the devices. My team is responsible for this part of the system, the encoding part, and our goal is to be able to deliver high quality watching experience while sending the least amount of data possible. So why is this a difficult problem? Because actually the data that comes out after a show or a movie is produced is really large. Video itself is large data. So let's take this one episode of, as CP said, one of my favorite shows, Crash Landing on You. One 18-minute episode, if you just look at that, is about 206 gigabytes of data. If you want to stream that over the internet, that amounts to about 350 megabytes of data. That's way above any typical broadband connection. So if we want to be able to deliver this seamlessly to your homes or even to your cell phones, we have to reduce the data by 50 times or even 1,000 times without hurting the picture quality. So that's where the work of my team comes in. We do a lot of research and a lot of software development to be able to reduce the data as much as possible. And this is just a progression. I'm not going to go into the details, but this is just a progression of our research and software engineering efforts over the years. So before 2015, before we did a lot of research on this, if you had 4 gigabytes of data, this would amount to only about 6 hours of Netflix viewing. After some of the work we did in 2015, we were able to increase that to 10 hours of Netflix viewing for 4 gigabytes of data. And more recently, even with more innovation in the space, we were able to do 23 hours of Netflix viewing. That means that with just 4 gigabytes of data, you can watch all the episodes of Crash Landing for You. Because if that was in 2015, then you could only watch 6 hours and, medyo bitin. Now let's talk about the other parts of the system. So after we produce the files, now we deploy them to all over the world. Our goal is to store these files as close as possible to our members who are watching them so that you can get less rebuffers and lower delays. So we do this through our Open Connect network, which is a bunch of servers all over the world. And what we do is that when you're sleeping, we actually send these files to these caches over the Pacific Ocean. So for example, here we have some nodes in Japan, and we also have some nodes in the Philippines. And so when people are sleeping, we look at what are the shows that most likely people are going to watch the most, and we fill these caches with them. And so when you wake up, or the night when you want to watch Netflix, you don't have to transfer this data across the Pacific Ocean, and you can just get it at the closest server. This means less internet congestion and just better quality viewing for our members. The last part of this building blocks of Netflix streaming is the adaptive streaming engine that lies on the different client devices. So once you hit play, the streaming engine on your phone or your TV or laptop requests the files that is best suited for your device. If the network conditions get worse or suddenly changes, then your device quickly adapts and re-optimizes and finds the best file now based on your current network. Through this adaptive streaming mechanism, we try to prevent the video from stalling and instead play you a slightly lower quality file. Hopefully this doesn't last long, or the rebuffer doesn't last long, or the lower quality doesn't last long, so that you're not distracted from the show you're watching. So that's how we deliver seamless video to you. Now, the second area that I want to talk about is enabling, second area of innovation is enabling new entertainment experiences. And the first part is we want to be able to, our members to have a richer, more immersive experience. This is an example of that, where our team deployed 4K and HDR picture quality. What that means is that the darkers are darker and the brights of your show are brighter, and the colors are just more realistic so that you feel more immersed in the show. And this is an example where we have the Daredevil. Stranger Things is another example where we do deliver 4K and HDR so that you're more immersed in the world of Stranger Things. We also do that for sound. This is also a recent thing we announced, I think this was just yesterday, where we now can deliver studio quality sound for Android viewers. And of course, in terms of better entertainment experiences at home, you may have heard of interactive TV or Bandersnatch. So this is a new way to experience TV, where a viewer makes decisions for the characters, and this sets the next part of the story. So in this example, you're asked, does the character want Sugar Puffs, or does the character want Frosties? And that decides what the next part of the story is. So many teams at Netflix work together to ensure that it was a seamless experience. So there's no glitch when you choose Sugar Puffs or Frosties or yes or no. And it really feels that you're part of the story. Another thing that works behind the scenes is that if you have this interactive show, you're going from one segment to another, it's actually not a linear graph of the story. It's actually a very complicated graph. Here, the graph here, where you have so many nodes and so many lines, is an example of the graph. It's actually the graph of Bandersnatch, where the different nodes here are segments of the show, and it tells you which node goes to which node. And as you see, it's very complicated. So part of the innovation that the Netflix teams did was create some tools to help the creator and the story writer design, manage, and build a story such as Bandersnatch. And the last and probably one of the most important areas of innovation that we do at Netflix is help you find the right show and film that's right for you at the right time. This is what we call recommendations. So usually, for example, you know, we when you turn on Netflix, we try to suggest to you or recommend to you what is the show based that you would probably like based on your previous preferences. This is the shows that Netflix recommended to me, so I just copied this from my own viewing. And apparently, I like cerebral TV shows. I like TV comedies, and you know, I guess based on watching The Crown and Bridgerton, you know, I like period pieces about royalty. So but we do a lot of innovation and learning to learn what our members would want based on the previous shows that they want. But more recently, we thought maybe some members don't really want something that's tailored to them. Maybe what they want is to know, I want to watch what everyone else is watching. So what we tested maybe a year ago is having a top 10 based on countries. First, we tested it in the UK and we realized that this is something that our members want. So we launched it all over the world. And so now, aside from having recommendations just tailored for you, you can also see what are the top 10 movies or shows now in my country. And this one I pulled also last night. What are the top 10 shows in the Philippines today? What are the top 10 movies in the Philippines today? And so this is, I may want to watch those so that I can be part of the conversation with my friends, with my family, or in social media. And a more even recent improvement that we did to our experience is that, what if I don't want to watch the top 10? What I want to watch is the newest one, because I want to be ahead of my friends or family in the newest and best shows. So one thing we added to our UI recently is a new and popular. You can see it on your TV or you can see it on your PC, where there's a tab called new and popular, and it just shows you what's new on Netflix today. It doesn't only show you what's new today, but even what's coming this week, to prepare yourself, to have you excited about the coming show. So that's another part of our UI. So these are just 3 high-level areas of innovation that we do at Netflix. There are many others that I didn't talk about. That's in payments, partnerships, localization. They're all equally important and working together to just make a better product. Sometimes people ask me, what's the next big thing? You know, what's the next big thing in your space? Or what's the next big thing at Netflix? And to be honest, I don't think they're big things. You know, the whole development of products, developing of technology, it's one small step at a time. You have an idea, you invent, you build, you test, you fail, you succeed, maybe you fail again, you innovate. And this just goes around and around, and you just test all these things, and you just become better. And I think that's really what I think about how you build technology and how you build products. It's just this iterative cycle of innovation. So we recently surpassed 200 million members globally, and very excited about that. This is a shameless plug to follow me on Twitter. This is my tweet last week. So we're toasting 200 million members. Yeah, I think I have less Twitter followers than my sister's Facebook friends. So please follow me. I'd like to think that all of this together, all those small iterations, successes and failures, just help build a better product and it's not about the product, it's about the escape, the connection, and the joy that our stories bring to our members. And for me personally, what this really means is that, you know, the 200 million members is good, but for me personally, what it means is that I'm happy to bring K-drama to my mom right now while she's, you know, isolated in their condo in Manila. And, you know, this work of bringing the bits small as possible while maintaining the quality helps her, you know, escape from the world today and get some comfort in watching her K-dramas. Or my sister in New Zealand who loves Kathniel movies and feels some connection to home as she's watching the newest Kathniel films from her living room in Auckland in New Zealand. Or for my sons who can watch crisp HDR 4K our planet and learn more about saving the environment. So with that, thank you. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Anne, and thanks for bringing Netflix to the entire world. And congratulations on the 200 plus million viewers or subscribers of Netflix now starting this year. There are a few questions for you in the chat box, by the way, including one question from Butch Ibanez. And Butch asks, will there be news content or other forms of content in the future in Netflix? So we'll talk about that during the Q&A. But if you want to scroll down the chat box, there are a few questions for you there. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Paul Echevarria. Paul left Ateneo de Manila University in the olden days with a BS in computer science and a BA in humanities, after which he spent a couple of years at Stanford to eke out a master's in computer science. He since moved to Seattle and has been jumping around different Amazon teams as a software engineer. Currently, he works in Amazon physical stores, helping robots figure out who took what and where. No, super interesting topic. As relayed to you earlier, Paul, I didn't know that Amazon had physical stores. No, because I always thought of what would be the next innovation in terms of retail, wherein you want to buy something and you want to see it and touch it first, no, instead of just seeing it in your computer screen. So I guess this is a parang transition of what physical stores would look like in the near future. So we're very, very eager to learn more about this from you, Paul. So without much further ado, please welcome Paul Echevarria. The floor is yours, Paul.
All right. Thanks, CP. Salamat kay CP. Salamat sa nag-organisa ng webinar na to. Hi, I'm Paul from Amazon. I'm here to talk about some recent innovations in our company, specifically in the physical stores division where I'm currently at. So I started off, I'm an Ateneo grad. I did my undergrad in Ateneo. I was actually enrolled as a freshman in the humanities because my dad wanted me to be a humanities major, but I snuck out and actually got some engineering courses during the summer. And I told him after the fact that I actually wanted to be an engineer and not a humanities major. So I eventually had a compromise and got a BS in computer science, but I told him I'd get my humanities in the following year, which I did. After that, I left and pursued a computer science master's degree at Stanford. And then after that, I've been in Seattle ever since, working at Amazon in various divisions, including supply chain, automated advertising, devices, which include like Kindle and Echo. And now my latest gig is in the physical stores for Amazon. So I guess let me start off maybe with some background on like Amazon's innovation culture. I guess why innovate? Like Amazon seems to have its fingers in so many pies, and what drives Amazon could easily just rest on its laurels and just make a profit out of existing businesses. But something about its culture drives its innovation. So one of the interesting things I've found while working at Amazon is it's like a lot like a startup, which just happens to be like really well funded. And there's a culture of educated risk taking, which means we try to do our homework, but we take risks which might not always succeed. Like for example, the Fire Phone. But the thing is, we quickly iterate and we figure out what doesn't work and kill it off before it kills the company. and we figure out what works. So for example, Alexa was kind of like a speaker that talks to you, which is kind of like weird at the time, but then we took a bet on it, and then now it's a thing. So so why do we so by the way, this is a picture of the headquarters where Jeff Bezos built basically a giant greenhouse. It's super hot and humid in here, and it's perfect. Parang ang Pilipinas pag pumasok ka, may Pilipinas nga. So he thought of something different to put in the corporate headquarters rather than just like a stale statue. Anyway, why do we innovate? It's mostly the biggest driver for our innovation is to delight our customers. Amazon has it embedded in its culture to work backwards from a happy customer. We don't usually, the end goal is not usually like a good product. The end goal is usually a happy customer. And then we figure out, okay, what made that customer happy? So we look at the problems the customer is facing and then build products around to solve those problems. But your products or your solutions might change, but the focus is always on like the happy customers. So we try not to box ourselves into like what we've always done, or like our ingrained ways of thinking about our customers and ourselves. So we try to maintain focus on the customer so we can be nimble and agile as to what products we bring so that we end up with a happy customer. So, which brings us to physical stores. So traditionally, Amazon has been like an online store. And if you think of Amazon, the traditional connotation is like it's online, it sells books online, it delivers stuff. And there's AWS, which provides like online compute resources. But Amazon a few years ago, decided to reinvent itself with its foray into physical shopping experiences, which if you think about the happy customer paradigm, makes logical sense because there's lots of things to like about online stores, the convenience, the selection, and ease of use. But there's also lots to like about physical stores. You can touch things. Things are more immediate, and like you can see there's a social aspect to it. And so working backwards from like a happy customer, we tried to figure out, okay, how can we bring the good things about physical stores to our customers? And so we ended up with Amazon Go. So I can forward like a video about just a high level overview of this, like offline. But basically, Amazon stores introduce the same frictionless shopping you get from the online store with like one click, but in a place where you can see, smell, and feel what you buy. It uses a bunch of machine learning, computer vision, and AI to figure out who took what, and automatically allows you to buy things just by walking out with it. So if you look at the ceiling, I don't know, it's pretty dark. I don't know if you can see it here. So you enter the gates, and then there are a bunch of sensors within the store that figure out when you entered and who you are. And then if you look up at the dark ceiling, there's actually a bunch of cameras there, and there's a bunch of other sensors throughout the store that track like where stuff is and like who takes what. So what this enables is that you don't have to worry about going to a cashier, figuring out and going to your wallet, figuring out your right payment method, going into a line. All you need to do is walk in, grab the stuff you need, and then walk out. So internally, we called it just walk out. And then just like what AWS did for Amazon's computing infrastructure, Amazon physical stores, I think just last year, started offering their shopping technology to other merchants. So basically productized the technology so it could be more ubiquitous, and we end up with like happy customers. So Amazon partnered with a few stores. This one is Chibo in an airport, I think in New Jersey, where customers can just, shoppers can just like walk in, grab their stuff, and then go. If you're late for a flight and you forgot your, I don't know, you forgot like an energy drink or some headphones, you can quickly go in, grab it, and go without having to wait in line through the rush of customers. So this is Amazon trying to take what it has and giving it to more formats. And then Amazon physical store said, what else can we do? So most of the items here are limited to like, you can see they're pretty generic. They mostly are small packages. So Amazon decided to figure out, okay, what can we do for grocery stores? So Amazon recently launched this thing called Amazon Dash Carts, which are essentially smart shopping carts where it has a bunch of sensors on it. So in a place where you have a shopping cart and you want to grab produce and like other groceries like milk and eggs, you can just grab it from the shelves, pop it in the cart, and there are sensors like on the shelves, like throughout the store, and the cart as well, to enable you to watch your virtual cart as you walk through the store and purchase stuff. And then all you need to do to check out is just walk out the store with a cart as you like go to load up your car. So this also works like if you're returning stuff. So if you grab some like a bunch of lettuce and pop it in the cart, it'll appear in virtual cart. But if you take it out and place it back on the shelf or the bin, it automatically takes it out of your virtual cart so that when you walk out the store, you have the correct, you're billed for the correct items. And then lastly, we have Amazon One. This is also a recent launch from Amazon physical stores, I think just last year. So Amazon One is a fast, convenient, and contactless ways to pay for people to pay using their palm. They can use their palm to enter a store, and it automatically identifies them. And then when they walk out, it automatically, because they know who you are and you have associated payment instruments with you, they can just automatically charge your card for whatever you took. The service uses custom-built algorithms and hardware to create a person's unique signature from just the palm. And it's available currently in a limited fashion in select Amazon Go stores. There's some Amazon bookstores. By the way, Amazon has bookstores, but they're more traditional. They just have just point of sale, just slightly more advanced point of sale machines, but they're essentially traditional bookstores. And there are some, I think, 4-star, they call them Amazon 4-star stores, which are basically stocked with only products that achieve 4 stars and above. So it's basically a general store for Amazon, highly rated Amazon products. So Amazon being traditionally online store keeps its focus on the customer, so it doesn't box itself in. And so it's trying to find new ways to reach customers and innovate on behalf of customers. So that's about it. If you have any questions.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
No, we have a bunch of questions about the Amazon store. Grace actually asked, where do we find these stores? And my personal question is this like a proof of concept, or this is really what Amazon thinks of the physical store in the future. So we'll talk more about that during the Q&A. In the meantime, there are a few questions as well, from Matthew in the chat box, which you can readily answer already, Paul. Thanks. Moving on to our third speaker, Paolo Malabuyo is a user experience designer, creative leader, and educator. He's the director of user experience for YouTube advertising at Google. He's also an adjunct professor at Carnegie Mellon University in Silicon Valley and part of the advisory board of Carnegie Mellon's College of Fine Arts, also a mentor of the Endeavor Network and a trustee for PhilDev USA. In his professional career, he has contributed to the design of products ranging from consumer to enterprise, hardware, software, and service. Highlights include keeping YouTube engaging and free for billions around the world, enabling binge watching on Netflix, on the web and TV devices, exploring the future of mobility with the F-15 Mercedes-Benz research car and its user experience, as well as experience with Xbox 360 and some of its games, including a game, the first alternate reality game called The Beast. Paulo is born in the Philippines, but now lives and works in Silicon Valley. Without much further ado, please welcome Paulo Malabuyo. The floor is yours, Paulo.
Thank you. Magandang umaga. Let me see if I can share my... Oh, I can't share right now again. You need to give me permission to share again. Sorry.
Okay, will do.
The wonders of working from home, no?
Let me see. Okay, try that. Also, you may want to change your name in Zoom.
Oh, that changed again. Yeah, we've been having problems. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, I am Paulo Malabuyo, so I'm not impersonating anyone else. And let me do this. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so just like the rest of our speakers here, I was born in Manila. You can see some pictures of me here with my parents. I think the one on the right, that's me on the beach with a little pig in Palawan, and that's me picking my nose at Manila Zoo with my siblings. We immigrated to the US in the mid 80s. And then, as you can see, my family has kind of grown, gone forth and prospered and multiplied. We got together a couple of years ago for Christmas. And this is part of that family that's in the US. And this is my nuclear family here, my wife and my dog on the beach somewhere back when we could actually go travel. So here we are. At the end of 2020, and we can probably agree that 2020 is probably the worst year ever. And it was a great reminder for me to, this is theme that I've been following in my career and work, talking about embracing complexity. Last year was probably the most complex from a personal level and professional level. Great reminder that to thrive in such conditions, it's good to embrace complexity. I started working I started my career in 1995. So I did not go to Stanford. I apologize. I am impersonating one, I guess. I went to school, Carnegie Mellon, actually, and my background is in art and design. So I don't have an engineering degree, but I have been working in tech for most of my career. And I'll just dig into a small slice of this to talk about how embracing complexity kind of helps us thrive in the world of tech and innovation. As mentioned, I am at Google. I joined Google in 2017. I was at Netflix previous to that. I specifically work on YouTube ads. I imagine everyone here obviously has access to the internet. I imagine many of you, if not all of you, use YouTube. Among the things that my team is responsible for is helping keep YouTube available and free for people. It's this complex ecosystem where we are serving the needs of billions of people around the world who are there to watch compelling content created by millions of creators worldwide who are interested in sharing who they are. They're having a voice in the world, and then a number of them also want to actually make a living being creators on YouTube. And then you've got the businesses who choose to advertise on YouTube to reach the people that who are on the platform to watch that great content, and to advertise to them with their product and with their service at the right time at the right place. We take the design thinking process and apply it to the full product development process, which in itself is inherently iterative, and it's meant to answer strategic, tactical, and evaluative questions. We try to do that by having the right people with the right skills, doing their work at the right time to deliver solutions for what is such a inherently complex ecosystem. We take a number of research methodologies specifically to answer different types of questions. So using the right tool to get the right types of answers so that we can better understand our users and our customers. Our team serves the end-to-end video advertising experience from planning, creating a video ad, creating a campaign, viewing ads, to measuring results, serving different users at different stages, and offer different products and solutions to help them succeed. So at the bottom is just a sampling of the different products that our team is responsible for to actually serve this ecosystem. And we organize our teams of hundreds of people around the world to do all of this. But let me dig into one small piece. Maybe think back to a recent session with YouTube. Unless you are a YouTube Premium member, you've probably seen an ad, and maybe those short 6-second ads that we call bumper ads. So what's simpler than a 6-second video? It's a 6-second story for a company or a brand. It gets in front of you and out of your way very quickly. Here's an example. Previous employer, quick 6 seconds. Did you actually get the audio on that one? Just wanted to make sure. Okay. So 6 seconds, simple, right? Well, how complex could that actually be? Well, first, for those of you who actually probably do video, you may understand and may have to explain to people that video creation is hard. Making good video is hard. So we provide guidelines for great video creative. So if people want to create a good video ad, these are resources that we provide online to help them just figure out how do you make effective creative for YouTube. And then making video is hard, especially for those people who may not actually have the content, may not have the skills or the tools. And for those people, maybe small businesses interested in playing in this ecosystem, we created this tool called Video Builder. It's to allow people to create custom YouTube ads using images and copy, colors, logos, and we provide some animated templates. And it's pretty straightforward. We just started giving access to this tool in the past year. It's a simple template gallery with previews and showing you what key data points and metadata you might need to help creatives choose the right template for what they want. And it provides a preview and an outline of what assets they need, along with simple steps to help them along the way. So for those people who may not have video, here's a simple tool that allows them to create something that they can actually use to advertise in the YouTube ecosystem. Now, for people who may already be creating videos, but not necessarily 6-second bumpers, we give advertisers a way to easily do that. Using machine learning, we enable the creation of 6-second bumper ads from longer creative. And I'll have one of my colleagues explain how it works in this video.
All you need to get started is a link to your YouTube video that's 90 seconds or fewer. Then you hit generate bumpers, and Bumper Machine will provide you in about a minute with several different bumpers that you can edit or choose from. What goes on under the hood in this process is actually a lot more complex. First, the algorithms analyze each frame within the video. A video usually consists of multiple shots and clips, so it's important to find the right frames to use. Each of these frames gets evaluated and assigned a visual score using a variety of machine learning models. For example, one of the models looks at each frame of the video to detect whether a person is in frame. This is done using visual recognition capabilities, which can identify if a person is in frame and how close or far they are. Another model using similar technology helps find branding elements within the video. We have trained the model to identify when logos, text overlays, and products appear, so we can use the best branding shots in the final bumper cut down. Lastly, to make sure that the video isn't blurry or choppy, we use a combination of rule-based decisions as the final step to selecting which scenes make the cut, and the final 6-second ad is created.
All right, there's way more behind that, but just to give you a little snippet about some of the ways that we try to give people tools to create a short 6-second video. And then for the sophisticated video advertiser, like a Netflix, for example, maybe even an Amazon, we provide a tool called Director Mix. It's something that we give advertisers and creative agencies if they want to create customized video ads at scale. So this is not for the person who isn't familiar with video advertising, but for the person on the other end of the spectrum, because video, doing it at scale is its own complex beast. It's really cool, it's really powerful, and this is a snippet of a case study of how an advertiser used this in an innovative campaign for a movie. And I'll just show you the excerpt where they talk about creating bumper ads.
We had to drive awareness of the release. So we turned to YouTube for the audio-visual experience that would bring the Grinch to life.
We worked with Universal Pictures to brainstorm creative ideas to improve the cut-through of their film. And that is how we landed on the idea that The Grinch would steal Christmas on YouTube.
To successfully achieve this, we had to deliver a fun, tactical, and targeted campaign.
With only a handful of base assets, we used Director Mix to create 625 different creative assets. For the bumper ads, we released The Grinch's sarcastic nature with his cynical remarks relating to popular trends on YouTube and Google. For example, for Christmas searches, we served for recipe searches, and for trending searches,
and more. So you can see here's one on the other end of the spectrum where they literally had to create hundreds of custom video ads and serve them appropriately based on what people were looking for. And then a last thing that I'll show you is we also provide people, advertisers, a way to run experiments for their creative, for the audiences, etc. And what this means is they can actually try to create two different creatives, two different ads, and serve them with the same audience and to see the results and compare them and go with the one that works better, or the inverse, which is having one creative message and then controlled serving that to different audiences and actually seeing the different ways that they might respond. And they can do this by comparing the metrics that they might care about, whether it's awareness, brand lift, consideration, and so on. So for your very sophisticated advertiser who wants to be very data driven, we provide the tools for them to do that, the creation of the ad all the way to serving them in experiments. So really small slice. There's a lot that can go into 6 seconds of video. And we try to serve this massive ecosystem. We got half of the world's internet users using YouTube. Most of them are using it for free. And we provide all these different ways for people to actually engage with it and to use YouTube as a great advertising platform. And you can see some examples that I just walked you through in this case study. So complex ecosystem, we embrace that complexity. We love it, and hopefully people like you and your families and get to enjoy YouTube because of the work that we do. So thank you.
Thanks very much, Paulo. Now we come to the point of our webinar wherein people can ask questions. In fact, just because I'm the moderator, I have the opportunity to ask our first 3 speakers the first question. One common thing between Netflix, Amazon, and YouTube and Google, of course, is that you have such a large user base. And beyond knowing who your customers are, I wanted to know more about what you are finding out in terms of characteristics and what do they like watching, whether it be ads or actual YouTube videos, towards what Paulo was mentioning earlier about better user experience. And in the case of Paul, what he is saying about creating happy customers instead of making perfect products. No? So other than just numbers, what they are watching, what else are you learning from your customers? Maybe we can start with Anne.
Yeah, I don't know if this is what you're pointing to, but for example, like from how people are watching the shows or what devices they use. I mean, there's a lot stark difference, right? For some parts of Asia, like the Philippines, where the mobile phone is your primary access to the internet. We notice more viewing on a mobile phone for, say, India or the Philippines. So that's one example. And that's why we also have we launched the mobile plan in those regions when we were growing those regions versus having the mobile plan when we were in just in the Europe or in the US. But the interesting thing though is that in terms of taste for shows, if you look at the top 10 for a lot of countries, there's a lot of similarities. Like the more popular shows today, Bridgerton, Lupin is the French way to. People love those shows all over the world. So there are differences, but there's also a lot of similarities in terms of what people enjoy watching.
And the internationalization of entertainment products, because we're no longer watching just films and documentaries from the US, but also even if it's subtitled, we're watching things from Turkey and Israel.
Yeah. That's also the very exciting thing about having global platforms. I don't know if you know about the 13 comics, right? The graphic novel coming from the Philippines, it's going to be a Netflix animation. And so we can share these stories about the Nuno sa Punso and the Aswang and the Tikbalang to the rest of the world because of a platform like Netflix. And so my husband, actually, he's French, but he actually read Trece recently because I bought it. And so it is, and I had to explain to him about what all these meant and the Tagalog words. But yeah, so yeah, it's very exciting. And I think the director of Parasite, I can't remember his name right now, but he was saying that what the impediment to a lot of people enjoying the shows is just reading the subtitles at 1 inch. But with Netflix having K-drama and everything, more and more people are going across that obstacle of reading subtitles and actually enjoying the shows. But of course, we also have dubs, right? So if you don't want to read, we also have dubs. That's part of the thing we do too, is to make the shows available in multiple languages.
Hindi pa deterrent yung subtitles ngayon.
Yeah.
In fact, even if you watch American films, you still have your subtitles on and you still read those.
yeah, exactly.
Thanks. And Paul, ilan ba ang customers ng Amazon, and what are you learning other than just what preference they have? And
I don't have the official numbers, but there's at least 100 million like Prime members in the US. I think the preferences I've seen during the pandemic, well, a couple of things. One, our physical stores were closed down during the pandemic because of the lockdowns and whatnot. So we didn't see any traffic from there.
Ano yung reaction ng mga tao dun sa physical stores? Do they like it, the experience?
Yeah, I think that the initial reaction, they loved it, and we have a lot of people try to trick the system by like grabbing stuff, putting it under their like coats and whatnot. And we still, I think, we had a few issues going out the gate. I think one is like I don't know if this basically our algorithms were only as good as our data, and so we only had initially, when it was all top secret like 4 years ago, we only had like adult employees go in to the store to train. So we only had that to work to train the system. But then when a bunch of kids came in, that just threw our system for a loop, because our system couldn't recognize kids. They were like, what are these? Are these animals or whatnot, or carts? And so anyway, but going back to the question, the preferences, people, I think, like the store, especially in the pandemic era, where there's less, I guess, touch, there's less contact. They like just being able to go in, do their thing, and then get out. Regarding the online stuff, people were buying a lot more toilet paper online, I guess. Like a lot more essentials online and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so related to that, because we're really talking about tech, but a big part of your service and products is really the user experience, which is really the expertise of Paulo. Quick question, Paulo. The 6-second ad that you're talking about, is there research that it's just as effective as a 20-second or a 30-second ad?
What do you mean by effective? Right? I mean, really,
because I would rather prefer a nicely created 6-second ad than sit down and watch a 30-second ad that's poorly produced.
So I think I'm not trying to avoid the question, pero talagang it's a serious answer. You know, it's how do you measure success? There are many different kinds of businesses. Some people make brand advertising, for example, and they Mercedes-Benz. You're not likely going to buy a car on YouTube by clicking on an ad, but they want you to feel a certain way about the brand. Versus Netflix, on the other hand, they want you to sign up. They want you to watch something, and so they care So for effective for them means something else completely. And it may be effective based on who you're showing it to, the context they're watching, and the quality of the creative. So all of that matters. And then, like you said, di ba, meron ka preference para sa'yo.
Correct.
Mas
Pero
effective ang
what I
ganitong
got
klase.
from what I got from you is that the metrics for what a successful ad is not just the click or that the person actually buys it, but also in terms of if we ever we are able to measure top of mind or just remembering the brand or associating that brand. These are other metrics that go into an ad. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You know, brand lift is a specific one that we actually give advertisers a tool to measure. To get the question you asked earlier, kind of broadly, gusto kong sagutin ng konti is, so I've been an Amazon user and Amazon Prime member forever. I've been on Netflix forever, and I used to work at Netflix. I used to live within walking distance of Amazon, and now I'm at Google. And I think a great example of these three companies is that I think yung isang tanong is, how do you look past the numbers or something? How do masses of people no longer aren't just numbers? My Amazon experience is different from every single one of yours. For example, when I open my Netflix account, I bet you it is unique as my fingerprint. Because of my history, how I watch, and everything else. And the same thing with your YouTube experience. It's likely very, very different than mine. So, in many ways, that's part of the experience. That's where the world has gone with all these big platforms. Is we don't give you one product and you have to fit your life to the product. How can we give you a product that fits into your life? It's more relevant, it works for you, it feels more personal, you feel more invested in it, and it creates this brand affinity, these habits, and this feeling that the technology is working for you rather than you working for technology. And I think the three of us, I think, are working for companies that try very hard to do that. We don't always get it right. Sometimes when we screw up, in some ways it's because people's expectations now are so high that it's easy. It's like, oh, you got it 99% right, and the 1% really matters. But you can see none of the experiences you have with any of our products and platforms is like anyone else's, and we're continuing to make that even better. That's how we look past the number.
Yeah, I agree. And then just a follow-up, Paolo, are you seeing a growing market, or more access to YouTube in, for example, in the provinces, like here in the Philippines or in other countries that have poor bandwidths, but yet they're accessing YouTube videos?
I mean, generic answer, you can say yes. Meron kaming tawag ngayon, FBU, the first billion users. These are people who are already in the developed markets, and they probably have good bandwidth and so on. And then we talk about NBU, which is the next billion users, and this is looking outside the traditional Western markets. And
do you remember some of these NBUs?
Well, the big NBUs, maybe you've heard of BRIC, no? Brazil, Russia, India, China. Maybe sometimes people call BRICS, puts S for South Africa, for example, in there. But these are the next set of large markets. And then it depends on who you talk to. We also talk about Southeast Asia because it's huge. And then the Philippines is this very interesting market of 100+ million people in a developing country, and very active on social media, heavy users of YouTube and other services. So yes, we are looking at all of these heavily. We want to make sure that the experience for the first billion users is great for them, and the experience for the next billion users is also great for them. I don't think that there's in the near future, it's going to be one experience. It's how do we give you the right experience based on your context. That's why yung trabaho ni Anne and her team is like enables this. Like fanboy ako ni Anne. there's the fact that you can watch Bridgerton or whatever it is on your crappy phone on a crappy connection is amazing, and that shows you the way all these different companies try to give you an experience that's scaled and appropriate based on your context, and that's what we try to do for YouTube as well. If you want to pay, you can do that. If you want to have all this amazing content for free, we do that too, and we make it easy for you to use.
Yeah, that you give the option to your users. So, and yung question ko kanina sa'yo, meron bang move yung Netflix towards other forms of content? Butch Ibanez earlier was asking.
Yeah,
Content
not right now. I think we're the one reason for the success of Netflix has been we've been very focused. One product, one method. Subscription based, and it's the same for the focus of we're here for entertainment, right? So even in that space of entertainment, we still think there's a lot of growth, and so there's no reason to put in news or so. Yeah, for now, no. We'll see.
Okay. By the way, Paolo, there's a question, an interesting question for you in the chat box from Diday Alcuja, who's also with our advertising here in Manila. You may want to respond to her about the 6-second ad thing. Okay, and finally, Orly Oxales asks, okay, because of the pandemic and the lockdowns that happened, medyo generic, but how do you think, and Anne for sure answered this already in her presentation, how did technology change the lives of Filipino consumers in particular? Of course, escape talaga. Pag Netflix ka, you forget about everything. But, and I guess shopping would be the same thing, not only in Amazon, but also in other platforms. YouTube for entertainment and so on. But meron pa ba, other than as a form of escape and making things convenient, meron pa ba yung role ng technology in times like, crisis, times of crisis like what we had last year?
Maybe I could talk a bit about that. I don't know if it's just escape. Definitely there's escape, like Bridgerton, you're escaping into a different world. But there's also the sense of connection, right? Like you're able to watch something and you can talk to people about it. Or there's also the aspect, here in the US, there was a whole Black Lives Movement. A lot of the societal, the difficulties and the conflicts. And so having something like Netflix where you open your eyes to stories about people who are not like you, I think that's also very helpful. It builds the empathy towards other people, and then so it's actually not an escape, it's actually understanding and empathy, and like grounds you in the reality.
Baka nga subconscious provision of knowledge for somebody to look at something in a different light. That's one of the roles of media, as a whole. Many questions. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, just to get something to add on technology, not necessarily like specific to Amazon, but I think technology, especially in this age of like lockdowns or in the enabled us to actually like even move forward with our lives, even though we couldn't travel, we couldn't meet our friends. For example, my mom just goes shopping on her like local Viber group, and like whoever has fresh vegetables, then like one person goes to the market and then just shares their vegetables like for the neighborhood or something. But it enables you to connect and I guess find new connections. Like for example, it allowed us to work from home, which allows us to like I guess I spent more time with my kids, which is like kind of like a blessing in disguise. Less time like on the road commuting. So some small things to be thankful for that technology enabled.
Thanks, Paul. Final words, Paolo. Anything that we should watch out for in terms of new offerings or new tech in Google or YouTube that you can disclose, by the way?
Well, I only work in one small part of Google, so mahirap sabihin. I think a broad answer on the technology question is there have been many times in the past where people said we've invented everything that can be invented, and then clearly they were wrong. Even the Bill Gateses of the world have made predictions that were wildly off. But so I think I'm looking forward to the day where people cease to think about technology businesses and everyone else. Technology is just part of what we do now. And I think almost all businesses are reliant on technology to some degree.
And an enabler, I guess. But
yeah, there is an enabler.
But the purpose of doing that commerce or that connection stays the same.
Yeah, deep human needs generally don't change very much over time.
Yeah.
We want to connect. We want to be entertained. We want to feel like we belong. We want to get better at things, and so on. How we do that, how we are enabled to do that, tends to be the job that businesses and technologies fill. I think what's just good to keep in mind is our ability to predict what happens tends to be really shitty. People really just can't predict very well. I think we as a human species have had a poor history of actually predicting things well. We tend to overestimate the changes that happen in the short term, and we tend to underestimate the changes that happen in the long term, right? And there will be some technologies that will continue to confound people. I worked in self-driving technologies for a couple of years, and where are we with self-driving cars? It's a hard, very, very hard problem. But would people have really thought that we would have access to almost all of the world's data in a little piece of glass and metal and plastic that we carry around, and I can stream video and connect with all of you using this thing? That would have been crazy fantasy to people like 20, 30 years ago. Right? Versus we should be in flying cars by now. Okay, well, one's here, one's not. And so the world evolves and innovation happens in fits and starts. It is not going to be even, and it's generally not predictable.
Yeah.
Which is why it's exciting.
And this is what Anne is saying, is that it just simply goes back to the social nature of people. And technology is just that platform that enables this, to have a better experience, socially and so on. Perfect. Anything else, Anne, before I let you go? I know you have to prepare dinner for one of your sons.
No, it's my husband's birthday, and he prepared dinner for birthday. And he prepared dinner for himself already. I just have to go and eat. I bought a cake.
Tinraining mo siya ng mabuti. So thanks, Anne, Paul, and
thank
you.
you.
Because when we talk about technology and that experience, two services that we cannot do away anymore, because of the pandemic, are Grab and GCash. So this is something that is ubiquitous already here in Manila, at least, but if not in the entire country. So I'd like to bring in our fourth speaker, a friend of mine, Grace Vera Cruz.
You've eaten already? Oh?
Okay.
Sorry.
Dinner na raw kayo, Anne.
Sorry.
It's okay. Grace is the country head of Grab Philippines. She oversees and creates deeper synergies across Grab's suite of services, from transport, deliveries, as well as e-payments and financial services, to better serve the customers, driver partners, merchant partners, and corporate partners in the Philippines as one Grab. Grace is currently leading Grab for Good, Grab's social impact agenda of leveraging technology and innovation to contribute to the Philippines' longer-term socio-economic recovery and development. Again, the same theme from our first three speakers using technology for social good and enhancing our experience and relationships. Before joining Grab, Grace was the managing director of Seawood Resources, Philippine-based investment company with a global footprint and has held key positions in McKinsey and Company, CLSA, Exchange Capital, and Shell. Thank you for joining us, Grace.
Thank you,
Hi,
CP. Thanks
Grace.
for inviting us.
And we're
Hi.
eager to
Thanks.
hear about what's next with Grab and your other projects, of course. Go ahead.
I'll try my best. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, CP, for inviting me here. Also, not from Stanford, but I always admire Stanford alums. So I was asked by CP today to share some insights on how we at Grab continually strive to make technology and innovation work for all. This last year, we have faced many new changes and challenges brought about by the pandemic, and it has affected many of us, especially those who live in the Philippines. This sobering period has brought about many emotions of fear and doubt, and it's undeniable that this pandemic has come at a high cost for everyone, including us at Grab. And it required continuous thinking and innovation to survive and thrive in this new market environment. Next slide, please. My first thought on innovation is that it comes from all of us. Grab's founder, Anthony Tan, said, we believe that innovations required to create the future won't come from a single source, not just from science, not just from technology, not just from governments nor businesses, but from all of us. We must harness the power of unconventional partnerships to dramatically redefine the way we thrive in the future. Innovation will and should come from all of us. Every single day, there's opportunity to innovate and make things better. Before I tell you some stories on innovation, let me introduce you to Grab. We are the leading everyday everything app across Southeast Asia. Grab is present in almost 400 cities in 8 countries. We have had over 200 million downloads. We are the fastest growing regional food delivery service, the #1 transportation platform, helping more than 9 million micro entrepreneurs all over the region. But that's not how we started. If you told us 8 years ago that we would go from this, a taxi hailing company, to this, Southeast Asia's leading homegrown tech platform, many of us would have said impossible. Indeed, Grab started as a taxi hailing app in Malaysia in 2012, designed to address safety issues of women when they were taking cabs in Kuala Lumpur. Its second market was actually the Philippines. And then we bootstrapped ourselves into an everyday everything app that millions of Southeast Asians and Filipinos use, not just to get rides, but also to order food, deliver parcels, pay online and offline, and even book hotels. Grab aims to provide essential services that provide everyday value to its users and help improve lives of our communities. For the everyday consumer, like the lady on the left and like me, we don't have to worry about getting home safely. For our delivery and driver partners, it's all about giving them the opportunity to earn a better living through the Grab platform. And lastly, for merchant partners and SMEs who contribute more than 50% of Southeast Asia's GDP, we are giving them access to resources and the market to be as big as they want to be. This is why we do what we do, and we call it Grab for Good. In 2019, next slide, please. In 2019, Grab was hailed as the world's second most innovative company by the world's leading innovation and technology magazine. We're trailing closely behind the Chinese tech firm Meituan Dianping. We are grateful for the recognition, and we're using this to further inspire the next wave of innovation within our company. CP asked me to share 3 Grab stories of innovation with you, and I hope you can take away some valuable insights from them. Number one, the Grab car story, disrupting our own business model. When Grab first started, its focus is providing technology to match passengers with taxi drivers. We built relationships with taxi operators, which allowed us to grow our business. However, through data and customer feedback, Grab saw that more customers are looking for private hail cars. Essentially, Grab had to make a decision that would disrupt its then business of taxi hailing, and that is launching Grab Car. Since then, we relied on data and consumer insights to guide us in launching several sub-services to meet the ever-changing needs of our customers. There's Grab Car Premium for those looking for premium car service. There's Grab Share for those who are on a budget. And there's Grab Six-Seater for those who are part of bigger groups looking for transport services. Since the pandemic, we have had to make a difficult decision to temporarily suspend our other Grab car services and focus on what is essential to our customers. And that is our Grab car two-seater, our Grab car four-seater, and Grab taxi. Now, what can we learn from this? Never lose sight of your goals. In our case, our goal was to provide safe and reliable transport services to our customers. The solution or product to this can change over time. Story number 2, Grab Protect, innovating for safety and hygiene, particularly during the pandemic. Grab was born out of the need for safety and security. In the early days, it was about safety from physical harm or being fooled financially by taxi drivers with the wrong meters. During this pandemic, it is about safety from COVID-19. In the aim of furthering our commitment towards safety and hygiene, we launched Grab Protect, a robust set of initiatives and features to enforce higher safety and hygiene standards for public transportation and food delivery in the country. Since the lockdown, we know that more and more Filipinos will continue to use and rely on our delivery services such as Grab Food, Grab Mart, and Grab Express. We quickly innovated to introduce contactless deliveries to prevent any untoward transmission of the virus through physical contact. We have also worked with our partners from Unilever, our partner merchants, and delivery riders to ensure that every stage of the food delivery life cycle is safe and hygienic. As the lockdown is now easing, many of our kababayans would need safe and reliable means of transportation to go back to their work and contribute meaningfully to socio-economic recovery. Apart from the safety and hygiene kits and protocols that we provide to our drivers, we have also put in place several features such as an online health and hygiene checklist for driver partners and automated ratings and feedback post-trip to ensure that both our drivers and passengers keep a watchful eye on our joint commitment to safety and hygiene. We are continuing to innovate Grab Protect. Now, as part of Grab Protect, we are discussing vaccines and how we can ensure all our drivers and delivery partners are treated as frontliners because we believe they are. We also believe safety will become more and more important even post-pandemic. And this is why we continue to further our thinking on Grab Protect as a product. A learning here is the value of partnerships. We couldn't have done Grab Protect by ourselves. We partnered with the government and our regulators to ensure checklists are relevant and with Unilever to make safety and hygiene products as accessible to all our driver and delivery partners. The last story is about long distance delivery, delighting our customers and merchant partners. One of the values we all keep at Grab, and I heard it too from the other speakers before me, is keeping our ears to the ground and innovating around on-ground truths. We constantly talk to our customers, our delivery and driver partners, and our merchant partners to understand their concerns, solicit feedback, and improve our products and services. One of the pain points of many of our customers, especially during the lockdown, was that they could not satisfy their cravings because their favorite restaurants was so far away. Imagine this. If you lived in Antipolo, you would be stuck with nearby restaurants and not been able to satisfy your wants. Especially if your favorite restaurants was in Green Hills or Makati or Alabang. Another pain point was for merchants. A lot of the restaurants we knew were closing down because they could not reach their market. They wanted to expand their market but had no capability to build stores or branches, especially during quarantine. They needed a delivery partner like Grab to service customers in farther areas. Grab said, challenge accepted. Grab launched long distance delivery on Grab Food. Customer cravings have been satisfied, and both big and small restaurants are able to service customers that are farther from them. In a way, this leveled the playing field between big and small merchants because of the almost year-long quarantine. Practically all businesses, whether big and small, have become dependent on online orders. And long distance deliveries have enabled smaller businesses to reach more and more customers that may have been too far from them before. The key takeaway: build from on-ground truths. I hope you enjoyed the stories that I shared with you today. Before I end, I would like to share one final point. It is easier to innovate if you do it with purpose. I joined Grab because I believe that by joining Grab, I am doing good. I do what I do because I find meaning in it. It's hard to articulate, so maybe it's best to share this video with you. Salamat po and mabuhay tayong lahat.
Southeast Asia is a place brimming with ambition, but also limitations. Millions face challenges in their everyday lives. That's why we've created the Everyday Everything app, a platform that's creating new possibilities for millions of people to thrive, just like Alicia.
My Jolly Chips serve many food like sisig sarada. Jolly Chip is very traditional. Because of the Grab technology, we can reach out so many people, not just in Makati, but everywhere. Now, I have new sets of regular customers that I have never seen. Because my business is better now, I can take care of my family, especially now that I have my grandchildren.
Now that local restaurants can reach more customers, Grab Food is helping to level the playing field. But sometimes, the obstacles aren't to do with money, but independence.
I was a very active person. I played soccer, I played golf. When I first got stricken by stroke, I just found myself useless. And my wife has to carry the role of the single breadwinner in the house. I just can't let her do it. I have to get back up again and do it for my family. And with Grab employing people like me, it gives me a chance to prove to the rest of the world that I don't have to depend on anyone else to move around.
And Mokhtar's not the only one, proving that you can overcome what life throws at you. Rudianto is one of the 100 million unbanked we'll be helping access the digital economy by 2023.
Sebelum saya punya rekening itu, saya simpen di laci mungkin. Ada sedikit kewaswasan juga, takut diambil, belum kenal yang namanya digital gitu. Dan itu Grab memberikan solusi bahwa Grab bisa memberikan rekening. Saya bekerja bersama Grab itu udah 4 tahun. Saya kumpulin tuh, alhamdulillah saya sudah bisa bangun rumah. Saya bisa cicil mobil. Setelah itu cita-cita saya menikah.
And there are thousands of other people and businesses well on the way to reaching their dreams. One such business is Pischok Super.
We start as a small outlet in Makassar. In Jakarta, if you want to expand your business faster, it will be expensive. A lot of small business struggling. There are lack of support, financing, infrastructure. Grab Kitchen provide you with the facility, kitchen, utilities, payment gateway. With this kind of support, within 1 or 2 months, I already expand my business more than 5 outlets.
With Grab Kitchen, small restaurants are popping up and expanding across the region. But some problems, like waiting for hours to receive medical advice, require a new solution, and Grab is working on it.
In my personal experience, when you go to doctors, you take your queue number as early as 6 in the morning, you can easily get your turn at 1. Grab Health is a platform where you can have access to trusted and reliable medical information and get your medical supplies to your doorstep. Our vision is to have one private doctor in every family.
Southeast Asia is made up of over 641 million people. And to Grab, that's millions of reasons to never stop empowering them with the Everyday Everything app.
Thank you, Grace. Alam mo, when I look at Grab as a company, I see it as not as a tech company or as a delivery company, but a company that is obsessed with efficiency. Just make everything easier, cheaper, more comfortable. And alam ko, we talked about just before you joined Grab last year, you have all these grand plans of just using the platform beyond just delivery and Grab taxis. So I wanted to ask you a few of these questions during our Q&A. But in the meantime, you have two interesting questions from Paul Quintos and Orly Oxales in the chat box, which you can already answer.
Thanks,
you. Grace.
Thank you, TP.
Our last speaker, but certainly not the least, is Karen Yang Chang. Karen is the head of enterprise architecture, strategy, and innovation at Mint. She lived in the Bay Area for 14 years before finally deciding to move back home to Manila over 10 years ago. She started her career as a Java software engineer and has moved on to manage engineering teams in verticals such as e-commerce, consulting, technology investments, and fintech. As part of the enterprise architecture team at Mint, she helps craft the company's technology blueprint, identifying and ensuring that the right architecture and enabling technologies are in place to realize short and long-term business goals. Karen is too humble to say that she was part of the team that built GCash and what it is today. I also mentioned to Karen earlier that I opened my first bank account that took me like 5 seconds through GCash earlier. And I just wanted to try it out and ganun na. I have a bank account in 5 seconds. So we wanted to learn more about the things that you're developing at Mint, developments with GCash, which by the way, congratulations, because it hit like 1 trillion pesos worth of transactions last year. And it's something that we can no longer live without today. Without much further ado, please welcome Karen Yang Chang. Karen, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, CP, for the introduction and for the opportunity to speak at this event today. I'm honored to represent Mint and hoping to be able to share more about what we do, why we do it, and where we're headed in terms of technology for 2021 and beyond. So before we start, just a little background about myself. I have a computer science degree from Stanford University, and as CP mentioned, I lived in the Bay Area for quite some time after that. I worked for a number of startups after college, including Scient and e-business consulting firm and some other startups that died pretty fast and I can't find their logos anymore. So I was a Java software engineer there and worked at a company called Cafe Press after that, doing some .NET development. Cafe Press went public over 10 years ago. The technology there is it allows you to upload your own digital design and superimpose it over hundreds of different types of merchandise. And it would seem that we already printed that design on the product. So I strayed away from technology for a while. In between sort of getting my degree at Stanford, I also went to Paris to pursue pastry, French pastry. So have a pastry diploma from Le Cordon Bleu. And after moving back to Manila over 10 years ago, I decided to sort of scratch that itch of, maybe opening my own pastry shop. So that's what I did. I opened Shakerine, and we specialized in macarons and puddings, like what you see over here with the bottles. And then, tech came calling back after a few years. And after I closed my stores, I went back to tech, working here in Manila for a number of startups like Yes Credit, and a venture builder called Eden Tech Ventures, where I served as an interim CTO for the startups under that umbrella. Then ended up in Mint, doing helping develop the product called Gcash. So every good company starts with a why, and here's ours. There's a heavy need for financial inclusion, given that 66% of Filipinos do not have bank accounts. Only less than 5% have access to credit cards or any investment tools. Only 36% have access to a physical bank. However, what's good about the Philippines is that we're a mobile-heavy society. So we have 124 million SIM subscriptions and 65% of adults already with smartphones and 76 million internet users. Gcash's vision is finance for all. It's all about enabling everyone to have access to the financial ecosystem. Never have I felt more purpose in this vision than during the past year, when the pandemic forced everyone to look for alternate means of transacting. From my sister-in-law, who is paying her vegetable supplier, to our kasambahay, who are sending money to their loved ones. The pandemic has affected all of us, and it has changed consumer behavior significantly. We've seen that strict lockdowns have driven the shift to online behavior, with 74% of Filipinos in most major cities heavily affected by quarantine. Some key trends brought about by being stuck at home: the non-contact revolution. We rely more heavily on e-commerce for essentials because of the need for contact-free purchases. We're seeing the rise of online selling communities. I don't know about you, but one of my earlier hobbies during ECQ was scrolling through Facebook and looking at a group called What's Cooking Makati and ordering homemade specialties from different household sellers near my home. A great number of them accepted Gcash as mode of payment. Another trend we're seeing is that the younger generation are more concerned about the virus's impact on their financial security. Gcash has become very relevant during these times, given the digital empowerment it provides, thereby answering the call to help Filipinos during these trying times. Because of this, we saw 3.5 times MAU, or monthly active user, growth versus pre-ECQ in February, showing our relevance with products that complement key trends. Like for the non-contact revolution, services like online web pay, pay bills, and buy load. And to serve the emerging virtual communities, we have our send money and convenient bank transfer. And for navigating through financial volatility, we offer a number of financial services such as savings, investment, insurance, and loans. Not only did the pandemic affect consumer behavior, but it also changed our economic landscape. Filipino livelihood has been vastly affected by COVID-19. With a 6.9% GDP decline in 2020, the worst in 36 years. Our unemployment rate is at 10%, which means that over 5 million Filipinos are left jobless. And 26% of medium and small enterprises are fully closed. And 78%, or 4.5 million businesses, are experiencing full or partial closure. Gcash is really keeping the economy moving, with over 500,000 social sellers using our P2P service. They're active in FB or Viber selling groups. And we also added over 11,000 new merchants just in the past few months, giving them a safer way to accept payments. GCash has been a lifeline to many Filipinos, especially in this pandemic with strict lockdowns. With the amount of Filipinos using and trusting our platform, we cemented our position as the #1 financial app in the Philippines through our relevant products and services. 2020 was actually a record year for us, with over 33 million users, 3.5 times month-on-month registrations versus pre-ECQ in February, 10 times higher MAU, or monthly active user growth, compared to 2017, and each active user conducting an average of 2 transactions daily. And we actually reached a peak of 7.7 million logins during one record day in December. We now have over 600,000 merchants in our networks, 85,000 in our QR network, and 500,000 social sellers in our P2P network. We saw up to 1,000% transaction growth in relevant use cases such as save money, online shopping, bank transfers, and online cash-in. And a third of our active users have at least one of our financial services, whether it's save, credit, invest, or insurance. And to top it off, as CP mentioned, we hit 1 trillion GTV, or gross transaction value, by the end of 2020, which is more than twice our past 3-year GTV combined. Overall, digital platforms are on the rise during this pandemic, and GCash is part of it. According to App Annie, not only have we topped the financial app category when it comes to active users, but we are now ahead of global social media and entertainment apps like TikTok and Twitter. In December, we even moved past Viber and Spotify. How did we do this? So this is where the technology comes in. We created a platform that is easy to use and ensure that our products are relevant and provide the best value. First, seamless onboarding using our eKYC capability, where we use our best-in-class identity platform that can verify in real time. Second, providing easy flow of funds with our online cash-in capabilities, integrating with banks and InstaPay and over 33,000 cash-in and cash-out agents, cash-out points like outlets and machines. And for payment convenience, we have over 600,000 merchants, which is a mix of offline QR, which is what you see in the malls with the QR codes in the malls, online web pay, our integrations with Lazada, Apple, and Google, as well as social sellers. We also have over 400 billers that you can conveniently pay through our app. One of the, my favorite GCash stories during ECQ is seeing like a friend's posting on Facebook where she spent a great part of her day, like 11 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. trying to figure out how to pay her Meralco bill. And so she tried, Meralco app, Meralco website. She tried, the major banks apps and websites as well. And as she was on the phone with one of the banks for over 2 hours, someone suggested, why don't you try GCash? And she did. And by the time I saw her posting, she had an update there already where, as she was talking on the phone, she signed up, got an account, put money in her wallet, and was able to pay Meralco using GCash. And, I could see the happiness flowing through that post. And I actually clipped it and I saved it and I look at it and just to really, remind myself why we do what we do. So in addition, we also drove engagement with the introduction of gamified products such as GCash Forest, where users can collect green energy daily to plant a tree in real life. There's also a social aspect to this because you can add friends and you can steal each other's energy points. Frankly, I was really angry when the first friend I added stole all my energy points. I actually never added a friend after that. So we are also the first mover in financial innovations, providing financial services such as savings with the best rate of up to 4%, investments for as low as 50 pesos, and G-Credit, providing easy access to credit line powered by our in-house trust platform called G-Score. And we just launched our insurance product in-app in partnership with Sing Life for dengue and COVID coverage, where you can get insured for as low as 25 pesos a month. in the coming soon, our loans marketplace for higher ticket loans. Lastly, in soft launch is G-Life, where you can access your favorite brands right in the app without needing to download even more apps. I'll talk more about this later in succeeding slides. One of our proudest moments at Mint during this pandemic is how we responded to the crisis happening around us. 2020 has been a tough year for everyone, but we feel a sense of fulfillment that we got to do the following projects. Real-time SAP or Ayuda disbursements. We were the most awarded partner financial institution to conduct cashless SAP disbursements, disbursing over 16 billion to 2 million Filipino beneficiaries. We also work with other LGUs like Makati, QC, and Taguig for their aid efforts. GCash also served as a platform for relief efforts in response to typhoons. We ran campaigns like hashtag Ulysses PH Aid and hashtag Tulong Cagayan to collect over 21 million in donations. Not only that, but celebrities like Vice Ganda, Angel Locsin, and Kat Bautista and Kim Jones, and our NGO partners, Red Cross and Kaya Natin, boosted or promoted their own donation drives using GCash to collect cash aid. And at the peak of the typhoon, GCash trended on social media as an easy way to donate to the victims. With the exponential growth of our user base, we had to make sure to double down on the safety of our customers' accounts from fraudulent activities. I mentioned our eKYC capabilities with our digital identity verification platform for seamless and more reliable onboarding. We just launched biometric sign-in, where users can log in using their fingerprint or Face ID. And we also offer assured compensation of up to 100,000 for unauthorized transactions on your account through our Customer Protect coverage. So how can we build more value and continue to bring more Filipinos into the digital lifestyle? One way is to expand our services and evolve into a platform where we can co-create value with partners. I mentioned G-Life earlier and would like to share a bit more about this, as it is something that I personally feel could be a significant game changer. G-Life is your all-in-one digital lifestyle platform for convenient access to your favorite brands. Through various mini apps, users can now shop, eat, and play without having to download multiple apps. Think about mini apps as apps within the GCash app. GCash provides the platform for development, and G-Life partners can create their digital presence without having to build their own separate app. This way, partners can take advantage of our data-driven marketing campaigns to drive the right customers to them. Our platform also provides a lot of flexibility in terms of user interface and experience design, so that partners can still maintain their brand identity. And most importantly, partners can expect improved checkout rates driven by the seamless payment experience. Back to our earlier question of how to build more value for our customers. Well, we have to continue to innovate. GCash continues to innovate in 3 specific pillars. First is to expand our ecosystem of services. This means investing in technologies that will promote rapid development and partner integration. In addition to expanding G-Life by adding more brands and use cases, we will continue to invest in improving our traditional merchant network, making it easy for MSMEs to start accepting GCash payments as we roll out our self-service onboarding platform. We're also steering towards a more inclusive API strategy, opening up more of our services to foster increased innovation within our developer network. So this is also an open invitation to all of you who own businesses who are interested in partnering with us, whether in the G-Life platform or as one of our merchants. Or for developers or those of you who own software development firms. There could also be an opportunity for you to become one of our development partners who can help create and customize mini apps for our G-Life partners. The second pillar revolves around delivering a more customized user experience, whether it be offering users more transparency and clarity for their transactions and limits, or showing promos and ads that users are more likely to avail of and appreciate, down to receiving contextual customer support in the event that errors occur. Imagine, calling into customer service and not needing to run through all the steps that led to an error. The agent already knows that you just tried to buy load and knows the state of your transaction in real time. That's the vision we have. In order to realize this vision, we need to invest in technologies that will allow real-time event and data streaming, thereby enabling event data to be shared across different applications as they occur. This also helps us build a 360 view of our customer, as well as feed into machine learning models that drive a more meaningful customer journey. Lastly, we continue to invest in ensuring system resilience and reliability. As more and more Filipinos continue to depend on us for their everyday transactions, we have to ensure that our services will be up and running without a hitch. We plan to introduce the practice of chaos engineering, or proactively introducing failures and testing our system's ability to withstand and recover from these failures. Investments in telemetry and alerts will enable us to identify problem areas and address them in a preventive fashion. Performance testing and projection ensure that we can continue to provide the quality of service that our growing customer base needs and expects. So I think at the end of the day, if you can leave your wallet behind and be confident to go to the supermarket with just, GCash on your phone, I think we can pat ourselves on the back and say we've done our job. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for listening, and hope you learned something about GCash today.
Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Marami akong tanong for you and Grace. But a generic question to Grace and Karen. Are you foreseeing more engagement with government? Because the way I see your services is that it just makes everything easier and efficient. And when I think about improvements in efficiency, then I always go back to, paying whatever bills in your LGU, in your city hall, maybe the long lines in hospitals, and so on and so forth. And in communities naman, Karen, are you foreseeing GCash as replacing the local loan sharks and the 5-6 and providing more equitable loan structures, yung mga ganyan? So I wanted to ask, maybe start with Grace, government engagement. What do you see in the future in terms of helping government disperse its functions a little easier through Grab?
So CP, super important topic for us. I mean, regulatory. We deal with all our regulators, but not just our regulators, but also other government, like Department of Tourism, for example, like helping the economy, local tourism go back. How do we help? I think first, constant communication with them. So since I started, almost every week, I speak with a number of government agencies to really ask how we can help. And that healthy level of discussion has brought about a few items. The first is creation of livelihood. So for example, for the city of Mandaluyong, city of Pasig, a lot of LGUs, we have helped them onboard a lot of the unemployed local members of their cities to the Grab platform. For Pasig, we have an impending activity where we want to onboard, the Pasig market, where the largest market pala, wet market in the whole Metro Manila. Parang onboarding all of those merchants into the Grab Mart product, no? So parang constant communication to understand the needs that we can help them with. I think the second one is offering what we have constantly as well. So parang sometimes kasi kasi like parang hindi nila also alam yung depth of what we can offer. So I'll give you an example for the department, for the LTO, they're thinking safety. So how do we ensure that there's always road safety? And parang what we do is offer to them our safety practices. So parang studies that we have conducted elsewhere or even here about how to ensure road safety and prevent accidents from happening. So sobrang dami. And then, we try our best like in these conversations to help one another kasi they're also super helpful to us. Like for example, they PCR swab, like we work with BCDA to make sure that all our drivers and delivery partners get swabbed to make sure that it's safe and hygienic to use the Grab platform. So it's really very, very important to listen and to share. I hope I answered your
Alam mo
question.
yung next na big transaction between Filipinos and government would be in providing vaccines. Meron ba kayong iniisip about vaccination? Maybe a nurse on a Grab motorcycle.
It's a big topic for us, CP. Like, I mean, it's super, super big topic for us. I'm not at liberty to share yet, but for sure, it's a discussion almost every day.
How do
Almost
you
every day,
deliver
literally.
100 million vaccines?
In a super quick way, right? Like parang, and not just here, but around Southeast Asia.
All right. Karen, what's the long-term vision of GCash? Are you becoming more as a bank? Because obviously there are also inefficiencies in the brick and mortar banks, diba? And GCash simply made it easier. And one of those things that may be something to look forward to in the future would be in the loans programs. No, it's much easier transacting with GCash. Is this a part of the plans of GCash?
I guess we're not trying to be like to replace the bank, right? Because it's more about being enablers. So in line with our vision of really bringing access, so it's more about GCash as a platform to connect, users to the different financial services out there, including banks. Also offering, more access to products, financial products like loans. So in the plans this year is really launching our loans marketplace. So, we can offer different types of loans. And as you said, sort of the goal is to offer a better option than the loan sharks out there. So we're also, working on a more inclusive, credit scoring algorithm, not just for, our G credit product, which is like a pantawid type of offering where like, if you need, you just
Alam mo,
need to
sorry
pay
to
for that
cut you,
grocery.
Karen. There's another service that just sprouted, no, because of GCash, and that is when people here in Metro Manila would like to send money to the provinces to their families, no, instead of using the traditional padala centers, no, they use GCash and they send it sometimes not directly to their family members but to a middleman, and that middleman would go to the barangay, parang ano siya, parang door-to-door delivery of the cash, of course with a transaction fee. I don't know if that's something that you planned earlier, pero it's happening.
Yeah, there are all these organic use cases that crop up. Actually, I've done that myself for, I wasn't the middleman, but I've done the service for example, my kasambahay who said, can you send, my salary to this person? She's my neighbor and she's going to give the money to my family.
That's correct.
Yeah, so that's a good use case for that.
Yeah, so marami pa yata tong when people start to use it, they'll find all these other uses.
Yeah.
And then Grace, baka you don't know, but with Grab and actually also GCash, the one happy, I guess, accidental result of having automation and payment, e-payments and deliveries without any contact would be you actually probably lower the potential for corruption in these transactions. I don't know if there is such a study, but if there is no avenue for a person to ask for extra money because of processing fee, yung mga ganyan, then that entire underground economy could vanish. And the delivery of service is not only efficient, but without those extra payments. Ewan ko kung alam mo yon or part yun nung goal.
No comment. Hindi. Joke lang. Hindi. Pero like that's like we really want to digitalize the payments, whatever platform. But that's such a good use case as well, CP.
There should be a study on that. Baka one of your teams may want to pursue that. Kasi wala na yung potential for making it difficult for the transaction to happen because it's all straightforward. Okay, we have several questions in the chat box for Karen and Grace, just in case you're not monitoring it. But alam mo, this 2 hours and almost 2.5 hours of speaking with all our speakers, akala ko we'll be talking about more tech, but apparently tech is just that platform that enables all these relationships and transactions that we need to do much, much easier. I heard it from Grace that what technology does is that it simply levels the playing field for small players and big players alike. Pareho na lang. Technology as an enabler, or in the case of Netflix and enhancing social relationships, and that aspect of being human, I guess, is elevated because of technology, ironically. And of course, from Paul, we heard the mantra of not making the best product, but actually the end goal is to create the happiest customer possible. So it's all going back to our relationships and commerce in general, and having that better user experience, I guess, not taking the words of Paulo earlier. We are towards the end of our webinar. And lest I forget, thank you, Anne, Paul, Karen, and Grace for joining us today. I'm sure our audience, and there's still 122 of us still listening to you guys, learned a lot. And we look forward to more updates from you guys. Again, because we have a media partner for this webinar, we're transforming this into like a tech podcast later on. So watch out for that. Any last words, I guess, from Anne? Nag-dinner ka na ba, Anne?
Yes. Nag-cake na kami.
So more Netflix in 2021?
Yeah, and nag-change outfit na rin ako. So I got chocolate cake all over my barong.
One quick question, meron ka bang nakikitang something different in your consumers here in the Philippines compared to the other countries? I know you mentioned that parang pare-pareho naman yung pinapanood ng lahat.
I don't know. I don't think I see anything different. But someone asked about what are the trends and shows.
Or
so I posted a link.
More Netflix than other people.
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't say that. But definitely, I mean, worldwide, that people watched more TV because of the pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah. And Paul? when do we finally see an Amazon physical store here in Manila? Nandun pa ba kayo sa, let's perfect this first and just have an
Uh,
outlet?
I think we have a good proof of concept. Well, I can't comment on medyo no comment ako on sa Philippine expansion, pero
Okay.
Amazon does have offices in the Philippines already, and but Amazon does have a lot of stores, and we're in expansion mode right now for physical stores, at least in the US. So, but regarding international expansion, no comment.
Wala pa.
Kaya, pero
Yeah. Baka may plano, but you can't say. Okay.
yeah.
Thanks, Paul. Grace, I'm super happy that you're there in Grab. I know you'll be doing much, much more work other than expanding Grab services here in the country, but more for the social good as well. No, you have all the tools to do that. And
We'll
the
try
passion.
our best. Thank you,
You'll
CP.
try. You'll try your best. You're doing it already. Thank you, Grace.
Want to do more. Thank you,
Ah,
CP.
You'll do more. Okay. And Karen, pinadali mo yung buhay ko with GCash. We're really hoping that the digital transformation of the country. Alam mo naman, yung mga Pilipino, we are averse to using credit cards, but because of GCash and other platforms as well as Grab, parang nag-ease in na yung Filipinos in um, yung uh, yung e-commerce and transactions without actual cash. No, so we didn't talk about GCash and CIMB Bank partnership. No, but this is something I guess that all the people in the audience may want to check out, no, through GCash, no, and open a bank account through GCash. Anything else that you want to add in terms of what else can digital transaction uh, help, no? Not just making everything efficient. Meron ka pa bang gustong sabihin to everybody?
I guess, well, one other thing is like check out G Life.
Life, okay,
Yes,
I'll
you'll
do
get
that.
more access. So you don't have to download other apps. And it's a seamless experience. So we open up that ecosystem. Yeah, and we continue to try to make the experience convenient and also meaningful for our users.
Okay. Thanks again, Karen, Grace, and Paul. Paulo, I think, had to prepare dinner for his family. We couldn't obviously have not done this without the five of you. Of course, also our sponsor Paase and our co-sponsors Stratbase, ADR, Iris. I saw Dr. Naponilio in the audience earlier. Stanford Club, thank you for all the support, and Puma Podcast. One last thing, thank you to everyone who tuned in. More importantly, for those who donated to our small fundraising activity so that we can do intervention measures in the STEM programs in our provinces. These are just a few people who sent in money, no, via GCash, and I can safely say that your donations will go a long way in terms of developing new materials for STEM education. And I can tell you more about the plans of Paase, but that I will reserve for a later time. Pagka meron na kaming konting traction, no, mahirap mag-promise ng mga bagay kung wala pa namang napuprove, no? But hopefully there's something that we can do in improving science and math education in high school, starting in high school. Thank you again. Also in behalf of Paase, Dr. Giselle Concepcion, Dindo Manhit of Stratbase ADR, Dr. Naponilio, Robbie Alampay of Puma Podcast. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I hope everyone learned a thing or two. Definitely I learned a lot. And so we'll do a follow-up webinar, tech webinar sometime soon. And hopefully we can again invite our speakers today to that second webinar. Maraming salamat everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, CP. Salamat, CP.
Always salamat everybody.
Thank you, CP, for the invitation.
Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat.